The House That Answered. Marcus Vale had spent nearly a decade carving out a lucrative career by systematically debunking the supernatural. His podcast, The Skeptic's Shadow, had started as a small passion project recorded in the spare bedroom of his Austin apartment. 8 years later, it was a full-blown media empire. Over 2 million monthly listeners tuned in religiously to watch and hear him dismantle haunted houses, ghost sightings, demonic claims, and every other paranormal trope with cold logic, high-tech equipment, and a biting wit that made true believers seethe and fellow skeptics cheer. His signature catchphrase, "If it's real, prove it to me," on camera, in real time, with repeatable evidence, had become a cultural staple in the paranormal community. It launched merchandise lines, hoodies that read, "Prove It," sold out live shows across the country, and even landed him a development deal for a Netflix series that was still inching toward production. At 38 years old, Marcus enjoyed a sleek downtown loft with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a Tesla he rarely drove because he preferred Uber, and a carefully cultivated public persona of charming, intellectual arrogance. He genuinely believed he was doing good work, exposing frauds, comforting the grieving by showing them there was no boogeyman in the dark, and reminding people that the world was strange enough without inventing monsters. Or at least that's what he told himself and his audience every week. So, when the unsolicited email about Blackthorn House dropped into his inbox on a sticky Tuesday afternoon in early October, he almost deleted it without reading past the subject line. The sender identified themselves as a lawyer representing the current estate owners. The subject read, "One night in America's most cursed house. Generous compensation offered." Curiosity won. Marcus opened the attached PDF and read with growing amusement. Blackthorn House, constructed in 1893 on the rural outskirts of the dying town of Redemption, Texas. A sprawling, 3-story Victorian Gothic mansion, complete with turrets, elaborate but now rotting gingerbread trim, and a widow's walk that looked one strong wind away from collapse. The documented history was the stuff of legend. 7 different owners since 1974. 4 ruled suicides. 2 confirmed murders. 1 previous paranormal investigator, a moderately popular YouTuber who had gone in for a solo one-night challenge live stream, only to calmly walk into the surrounding pine woods at 4:17 a.m. and vanish without a trace. Extensive search parties found no footprints, no clothing fibers, nothing. The house had its own dedicated subreddit with over 180,000 members, countless TikTok compilations titled Blackthorn House Evidence That Will Haunt You, and every serious and not so serious ghost hunting group in the South had attempted, and failed, to capture anything conclusive there. Marcus leaned back in his expensive ergonomic chair, a slow grin spreading across his face. This was absolute content gold. He typed a reply before he could talk himself out of it. One night only. Full multi-camera live stream. Minimal crew. No interference. If your so-called demon shows up, I'll shake its hand on camera and give it a 5-star Yelp review. Name your price. The estate responded within 40 minutes with an offer that made even Marcus raise his eyebrows. A substantial 5-figure content facilitation fee, full liability waiver, and coverage for all travel and equipment transport. That should have been his first real warning. Instead, he saw dollar signs and subscriber growth. The convoy rolled up the long, weed-choked gravel driveway as the sun bled out across the Texas sky on a cool Friday evening in late October. 2 rented vans, one crammed with professional gear, the other carrying Marcus and his tight crew of 2, Lena, his reliable audio and camera tech of 6 years, and Theo, the quiet, bearded live stream director who spoke little but never missed a crucial shot. Blackthorn House waited at the end of the drive like a patient predator. 3 stories of faded black paint, broken windows staring like empty eye sockets, Spanish moss hanging from the eaves like funeral crepe. The air around the property felt thicker, heavier, as if the house itself was slowly inhaling. The local realtor who met them at the front gate refused to step past it. She handed Marcus a single key on a rusted iron ring, muttered something about cell service being unreliable past the second oak tree, and practically fled back to her SUV. "Keys are under the mat if you lose that one," she called out the window before speeding away. "Good luck." Marcus and his team began setup in the grand foyer beneath a shattered crystal chandelier that still caught the last dying rays of sunlight in fractured rainbows. They deployed four 4K cameras with full night vision and thermal overlays, multiple IR illuminators, full-spectrum lighting rigs, a spirit box, REM pod, SLS camera for motion detection stick figures, multiple motion sensors, and enough backup batteries to power a small music festival. Lena and Theo worked with quiet efficiency, rigging the primary live stream to Marcus's YouTube channel and several backup platforms. By 7:45 p.m., more than 82,000 people were already waiting in the pre-chat, flooding the screen with fire emojis, prayer hands, skulls, and excited speculation. At precisely 8 p.m., Marcus stepped in front of the main camera, wearing his signature black button-down shirt and trademark confident smirk. Welcome, shadows and skeptics alike, to a very special live edition of the Skeptic's Shadow, he began, his voice smooth, practiced, and broadcast perfect. Tonight we are spending one full, uninterrupted night inside Blackthorn House, widely regarded as the most cursed and dangerous location in Texas. One night. No cuts, no edits, no safety net. If anything genuinely supernatural occurs, you will see it raw and unfiltered. If nothing happens, and every rational piece of evidence strongly suggests nothing will, then another overhyped ghost story dies tonight on camera. Let's get started. The chat exploded into a frenzy. Marcus began the standard walkthrough, narrating for both the live audience and future edited content. The basement was damp, claustrophobic, and smelled of mildew and earth. Its old root cellar supposedly contained faded occult symbols carved into the stone walls. The second floor featured several bedrooms where previous residents had allegedly hanged themselves from slowly creaking ceiling fans that still moved slightly even when the air was still. The attic, accessed by a narrow pull-down ladder, was the site of the last documented horror. The owner found with both eyes surgically removed and placed neatly on the windowsill. Every room carried an oppressive, tangible weight. The temperature dropped noticeably the higher they climbed, even though the October night outside remained mild. Footsteps echoed in odd ways, as if the house possessed more floors and hallways than its physical layout suggested. By 11:47 p.m., they reached the master bedroom on the third floor. The room associated with four of the documented deaths. The massive four-poster bed sagged heavily in the center, its torn canopy hanging like decayed funeral drapes. Marcus sat on the edge of the rotting mattress, facing camera one directly. "All right," he said, holding up a high-quality digital voice recorder. "Standard EVP session. If there is anyone or anything here with us tonight, please use this device. Speak clearly. Tell us your name. Tell us why you remain in this house." For nearly 30 seconds, there was only soft, hissing static. Then in a voice that was an exact, chillingly perfect replica of Marcus's own, same slight Texas drawl, same cadence, same subtle sarcastic undertone, it answered, "You already know I'm here, Marcus. I've been waiting for you specifically for a very long time." The crew froze. Lena's hand hovered motionless over her laptop. Theo's eyes widened behind his monitor. The live chat went nuclear. Tens of thousands of messages flooding in within seconds. Marcus forced a laugh, but it sounded thin and strained even to his own ears. "Impressive. Spirit box? Pre-recorded audio track? Some kind of sophisticated voice-changing app synced to the microphones? Let's see something truly original." The entity responded instantly, still using his exact voice. "Original? How about the night you were 17 and you let your younger brother take the full blame for stealing your father's car? He lost his football scholarship and your parents never truly forgave him. You never told a single soul until right now." Marcus's confident smirk completely vanished. The temperature in the master bedroom seemed to plummet. His breath became visible in the infrared feed. "That's not funny," he said, voice dropping. "That's private family business. How the hell did you—" The entity cut him off smoothly, the voice now intimate and whispering directly into his ear through every speaker in the room. "Or we could talk about the $47,000 you quietly siphoned from the podcast LLC last year to fund that emergency Vegas trip. You called it creative accounting in your private notes. Your producer still has no idea. Should I continue listing your secrets, Marcus?" Lena and Theo stared at him in open shock. Marcus stood up abruptly, heart hammering against his ribs. "Cut the live feed right now," he ordered sharply. But the cameras refused to obey. The live stream counter kept climbing past 142,000 concurrent viewers. The chat was a chaotic storm of reactions. The voice chuckled softly, the sound emanating from every corner of the room simultaneously. You can't cut what I already own, Marcus. This house has been patiently waiting for decades for someone exactly like you, a professional liar about the other side. I've watched every single episode of your show. Entertaining, shallow, cynical. But tonight we finally get to play for real. Marcus tried to walk toward the bedroom door. His legs refused to move, as if invisible hands were holding his ankles in place. Theo whispered hoarsely, "Boss, we need to leave. Right now." The entity answered Theo using Marcus's voice again, perfectly matched. "Stay, all of you. The deal will be so much sweeter with a live audience watching." What followed over the next 3 hours was a relentless, deeply personal, psychological dismantling. The entity, it never offered any other name, knew intimate details that no outsider could possibly possess. It recited entire private therapy sessions verbatim. It described the exact location, size, and design of a small hidden tattoo on his ex-wife's left hip that Marcus had sworn to take to his grave. It listed every instance of faked or exaggerated evidence from past episodes, every sponsor he had quietly taken advantage of, every lie he had told his loyal audience about his honest, skeptical journey. At 2:13 a.m., the tone of the voice shifted dramatically. It became warmer, almost paternal and understanding. "You're exhausted, Marcus. Exhausted from the constant performance. Exhausted from pretending to doubt when deep down you have felt something watching you since you were a small child hiding under your blankets at night. I can end the performance for you. I can give you what you have secretly always wanted. Genuine belief, genuine power, genuine undeniable proof." Marcus, drenched in cold sweat despite the freezing temperature, finally asked the question he had sworn for years he would never utter on camera. "What exactly do you want in return?" "A simple, honest trade. Your skepticism. All of it. Permanently. You will stop lying to millions of people about what truly exists on the other side of now. In exchange, I will give you proof beyond any doubt. The kind that will transform you into the most credible and powerful voice in the entire paranormal world. Because you will finally, truly believe every word you say." The offer hung heavy in the air like thick smoke. Marcus let out a broken, shaky laugh. "And if I refuse this deal, then you become another permanent resident of Blackthorn House. But I promise you, your stay will be much slower, far more educational, and infinitely more painful than those who came before you." Lena and Theo were now openly begging him to abandon the live stream and leave immediately. The chat had become a battlefield of panic, excitement, and wild conspiracy theories. Marcus stared directly into the main camera, his eyes hollow and defeated. "I accept the deal," he said, his voice clear and steady. The house itself seemed to release a long, satisfied sigh. Every single light in Blackthorn House went out simultaneously. For 3 full seconds, there was absolute, suffocating darkness. Then the lights returned, dimmer now, bathed in a deep, unsettling, reddish glow. The air smelled strongly of ozone mixed with something metallic, like old blood. The voice, now much deeper and layered with countless other whispering tones, spoke one final time. "A wise choice, Marcus Vale. Welcome home to the other side of now. Your first true broadcast as a genuine believer begins immediately." Marcus turned back toward the camera. The lifelong skepticism that had defined his entire public identity had vanished completely. In its place was something ancient, ravenous, and strangely at peace. He smiled in a wide, genuine, and utterly terrifying smile, and began speaking in a voice that was no longer entirely his own. The live stream continued running uninterrupted for a total of 6 hours and 43 minutes. When authorities and concerned crew members finally forced entry into the house at sunrise, Lena and Theo were discovered unconscious but physically unharmed in the grand foyer. Neither of them remembered anything that occurred after approximately 3:15 a.m. Marcus Vale himself was never seen leaving Blackthorn House. Yet the Skeptic's Shadow channel continued uploading new episodes on its regular weekly schedule. The new version of Marcus appeared healthier, calmer, and almost radiant. His trademark skepticism had been entirely replaced by passionate, detailed, and utterly convincing discussions about demons, possession, interdimensional entities, and the dangerously thin veil that separates our world from the other side. His audience grew explosively. Major sponsors competed aggressively for spots on the show. Former harsh critics now praised him as transformed, and finally enlightened. Only the most observant longtime viewers began noticing the subtle, disturbing changes. In every new episode, if paused at exactly the 3:33 timestamp, faint translucent shapes could be seen moving in the background, tall, patient forms that almost suggested wings or horns. And occasionally, when Marcus laughed at one of his own jokes, the sound carried an unmistakable layered echo, as if the entire house itself was laughing along with him in perfect unison. The final uploaded episode was simply titled The House That Answered. Marcus sat alone in the master bedroom of Blackthorn House, smiling serenely into the camera. "I used to believe this place was pure evil," he said warmly, his voice rich and inviting. "Now I understand its true purpose. It was simply waiting patiently for someone honest enough to finally listen." He leaned closer to the lens, his eyes gleaming with that strange new inner light. "And if you're watching this right now, it's waiting for you too." The screen faded slowly to black. No new episodes have been uploaded since that final night. However, viewers scattered across the world occasionally report receiving mysterious private livestream links at exactly 3:33 a.m. from unknown accounts. The thumbnail is always the same: Marcus Vale sitting calmly on the edge of the rotting four-poster bed, smiling like a man who has finally discovered everything he was ever searching for. And in the background, just barely visible through the open doorway, stands a second figure, wearing Marcus's face. On the other side of now, Blackthorn House is never truly empty. It always has room and a voice for one more believer.
This has been a story from the other side of now. If you enjoyed this story, like, comment, and subscribe.